Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Let's talk about what makes Dimash's performance of Marigolds so awesome. Here we go. So what's really interesting that I'm watching here is I'm able to see this larynx position, right? You can see his Adam's apple here. And you can see what's happening to the sound depending on where his Adam's apple is sitting. You'll notice that on certain moments it's sitting a little bit more in the middle and a little lower, and then you'll see it jump up a little bit. It stays relatively consistent though with the sound that he's making for that specific phrase, right? He goes to kind of this breathy sound for a moment, and he gets this kind of richer, fuller sound in a moment, and that larynx position responds accordingly. So check it out. Start playing with it. What I want you to notice as you're playing and singing, sing in the mirror, or just rest your hand here on your Adam's apple, this kind of bump in your throat here, and notice when you yawn, you'll notice that that goes down, right? So we talk a lot about this 80% of yawning smile here in back. That should mean that this larynx stays relatively low and stable. Now, it's going to change the pitch if that larynx rises, and depending on who you talk to, some people will argue that larynx position doesn't really matter in terms of vocal health, and other people that will argue adamantly that it needs to stay low and stable for good vocal health. In my opinion, I think it has a lot more to do with style. So for example, if we're talking about opera, I think this larynx does need to stay relatively low and stable to get the sound that we expect to hear with opera. How rigidly does it need to stay in that lower position? That's a different story for another time, and I'd be interested to hear your comments on it. But if you're trying to start learning and experimenting, what you want to take away from it today is that you want to be able to sing an entire phrase, and doesn't matter which pitch, keeping this larynx relatively stable. So that's not as you're going higher, rising up into your throat, and as you're going lower, not changing significantly. That's staying relatively consistent no matter what pitch you're singing. Just by monitoring and being aware of it and making that a goal, it will start improving on its own over time. There's more aggressive things that you can do as well, but for now, just start becoming aware of it and watching others and see what is the effect of that larynx position on the sound that they're making, and how can I use that to give myself a broader color palette to be able to sing from and to be able to do that deliberately. Okay, vocally really vulnerable right here, right? This breathy, soft, high, light sound. What's interesting is so is his posture. His posture is very vulnerable right now. He's holding on to this mic almost like it's a rose. He's leaning forward into it a little bit. Soft shoulders are rolled a little bit. So it's just a soft, easy, non-threatened. His feet are not equally weighted. He's leaning forward into it. He's nice and balanced, but it just seems confident, calm, vulnerable, and soft, which is exactly what he's doing with his voice, exactly what the music's calling for. So we have music matching words, matching voice, matching body language. Awesome. See any tension in those hands, his arms, his body, his face? No tension. It just seems really relaxed and tied in 100% in what he's feeling. I'm not seeing a whole lot of performer tension, rigidity, stress, tension. He's just 100% in the moment of the song. Love it. What can you learn from it? Well, go back and video yourself performing. Are there any tensions or stresses in your body that look frozen, stuck, stiff, rigid? If so, unless the song's calling for it, you want to figure out how to get rid of those and loosen those up and let them go. You can usually do that by just getting that part of the body moving a little bit, even if it's just gently moving throughout a phrase. What else you can do to make sure that you're authentic and genuine is by taking a moment to just picture the person you would imagine saying these words to the emotion of this music, where they would be, what they'd be wearing, how they would be standing if they're just an everyday person doing what this song calls for. And then try to let your body capture that image, imitate that image that comes to your mind. It's a great way to utilize what you already have in your own unique artistic sensibilities and what you're picturing, and not fall into a trap of doing what someone else is doing. Here, this just seems like genuine Dimash. Like if I was to see him on his own saying these words in this moment, this is what I would expect to see. Obviously, it's adjusted slightly because there's a microphone. I wouldn't expect to see him holding on a microphone, but the microphone's there, and that's fine in this moment, because that's part of he's getting it right there in his face, and that's expected. We can forget that and excuse that, and our brain can suspend disbelief with the microphone aspect of it. So to me, still works awesome. And is still communicating conversationally. Not stuck, not rigid, fluid. Nice, fluid, consistent airflow. Audience sing-alongs are beautiful for two reasons. Obviously, you don't want to use them too much, but if it's a song that the audience knows, you're giving them a chance to participate, and that gets their blood moving, gets them involved, and audience just seem to love sing-alongs. I love them. I think they're great fun. It also gives you as the artist a chance to rest, right? Do I think that's what he's doing here? No, I think he's doing it for the audience, because it doesn't sound like he's vocally fatigued, or he hasn't been singing any part of the song in a way that sounds like it's going to get him tired. Though, it's not a bad way to take a break with keeping the show moving forward and having the audience not feel like there's a pause or break or lull in what's happening. So, it's a tool that you'll want to put in your toolbox and think, is this a time to use this? If so, use it, and your audience will thank you. If you do a sing-along, though, you can't just check out physically. You've got to cue them and let them know that it's their time to sing. And you'll notice that he then took the proverbial talking stick back. We know that he's about to sing. He showed us that the mic's coming back towards his mouth. His body language is getting into the song, even though he hasn't started singing yet. And he's not necessarily the main focus at this point because the audience is finishing up. But it gives us the cue that, okay, we're wrapping this up. This happens in everyday conversation too. We know when someone has something to say, and that's when we stop saying what we're saying and get ready to listen. And vice versa is also true. When we hear that someone's kind of coming to the end of what they're saying, we know that it's our turn to kind of pick up, and our body language will become more animated, and we kind of take that talking stick back, right? And we know this pattern of behavior back and forth, and our audience will pick up on it if you are deliberate and make sure that you are communicating that way with your audience. Treat them like you would a good friend in a conversation as part of a piece, especially if you are going to have a sing along with them. Okay, so clean, clear sound. How do we justify this breathy sound and then we get this clean, clear sound? Which is good or bad? Irrelevant. They're just different sounds. You can keep them both relatively healthy as long as you're doing it wisely. So how do I make it so that I can control my vocal folds, right? Can I go in there and just like with my fingers, make them close tighter? You have to really tie into an existing sensation is the easiest way to learn how to do that. So if you're really breathy, remember we have this balance ball of vocal fold pressure and airflow, right? If they're in balance, we get this clean, clear, easy sound. If it gets too pressurized, then it starts sounding compressed, pushy, forced. If it gets too much airflow, then it starts sounding breathy and soft and a little weaker, right? So again, we can use this unbalancing on purpose, and he's using that here in this breathy section. He's pulling it out of balance to purposely make it breathier, softer, sound more intimate and more memory, dreamlike, tap into that type of aspect of coloring his voice, right? If I do have a breathy sound though, and I want to get it more in balance, how do I do that? Because I can't just force these vocal folds together, right? Well, there's a lot of exercises you can do. And a lot of times what we're trying to do is kind of swing the pendulum in the opposite direction to bring it back towards normal. So if we're breathy, we might try swinging it a little towards a more glottal pressurized sound. We can do that by trying to vocalize on a G plus a vowel sound. So goo, 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 goo. That's going to help these vocal folds come together with a little bit more pressure. Then you can sing a little bit more on that side of things until it starts getting compressed and pressurized, and then swing it back a little bit, and you'll start finding this middle balance point. There's a lot of other exercises we could do. My favorite to find this middle balance point from the beginning is to do exercises on a Y plus a vowel. So ya, 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 ya. What that does is it gets the breath moving in a way that isn't pressurized and forced like the G. And it isn't breathy like if we start with an H sound. Ha, goo, 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 ya. Keeps it nice in this balanced middle place, which is what we're looking for. So those are some practical tips that you can apply today. I'll let this go a little bit longer here without me talking, hopefully this time. I'm not sure, but my guess is that lady we saw at the end was probably his mom. Not sure, but that's actually an excellent tool. If you can tap into real people, real moments, real people, or even if they're imaginary, that you have an emotional connection to, it's going to help that song be that much more genuine and authentic. Anyways, gorgeous song. I also really love when we see a performer where we know they could be much more showy and showboat and give us all kinds of fireworks when they don't. They just let a song be genuine and authentic and be what it can. I don't think every song needs to demonstrate the highest note, the loudest note, the most impressive vocal fireworks and ranges and riffs. Honestly, to me, knowing how hard it is for most performers to be vulnerable and genuine and authentic on stage, the most impressive performance is actually one where it's not about the vocal fireworks or high notes, but the performance is about that genuineness and being authentic and sincere to what the music's calling for. And in classic Dimash fashion, he does an excellent job of showing us body language that matches the verbal language that matches the music. And it's gorgeous what he does. If you want a voice lesson or performance coaching or want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartstudio.com. You can also send me a short 5-minute video clip or ask me questions on wizio.com and get specific feedback there as well. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. I look forward to working with you online, and see you next time.